In our previous video, we talked about IP version 4 and we did an introduction to it. And remember, I talked about how we're running out of IP version 4 addresses, how there's only 4.3 billion addresses. And if you think about that, that's a lot of addresses. But if you think about the world population and how many different devices we have that connects to the internet, well, now you can see why we're running out of addresses. And so we're running out of addresses, and so we created IP version 6, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to do a quick introduction to IPv6. So IPv6 was created to mitigate the issue of us running out of IP addresses so we can continue to connect devices to networks and the internet. Now, if you look at the difference, when we talked about IP version 4, it's a 32-bit address, and IPv6 is a 128-bit address. Now, when you determine the math to determine how many addresses it is, it's 2 to the power of how many bits. So for IPv4, it was 2 to the power of 32, which equaled to roughly 4.3 billion addresses. Well, 2 to the power of 128 addresses is 340 trillion addresses, and there's the actual amount on the screen. And if you take that and you divide it by our world population, you'll see that we're never going to run out of addresses with IPv6, just because there's so many potential combinations of addresses. Now, I did not put the format on here because it's a very complex hexadecimal format and you don't need to understand it to really see why we went to IPv6. And also some other reasons why we went to IPv6 is that number one, it improves routing, so it makes the routing process more efficient. Number two, it includes some cybersecurity, and I actually should say network security features within it to make it more secure. And so for overall, by having more addresses, by improving its routing functionality and improving its network security functionality, it's just much more efficient overall. And that's going to conclude our quick introductory lecture to IPv6. We'll be talking about IP addressing much more in our dedicated section on IP addressing later in this course.